Hey friends, this is Eugene from Worker Bee Supply, and today we're going to take a bit of a deep dive on a really important aspect of freelancing. Now, a few weeks ago, I reached out to our audience on Instagram. If you don't follow us there, check us out. And I asked, what can we do to help you thrive as a freelancer? What's holding you back? And not surprisingly, a lot of the answers were about money. And specifically, one of the things that kept coming up more often is how to diversify your income as a freelancer. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to dive into a variety of topics around diversifying your income as a freelancer. Now, first, before we get started, why is this important? I think a lot of people, when they think of freelancers or when they follow people online, they kind of see a small sliver of their actual entire life online. And, that makes sense. It's what you put forward. It's what you want to do more of, maybe. But the reality is that most successful freelancers don't only do one thing. Think about it this way. An athlete, they make money in a variety of ways. Sure, maybe they have that NBA contract and they get paid that way, but they also have endorsement deals, they do commercials, then they start buying small businesses on the side. Similarly with larger companies like Apple, they have, sure, their main product, the iPhone, but then they start spinning off other services. They get the Apple Watch, they have Apple TV now, they have more subscription services, iCloud. All these little things make up their overall income. And with freelancing, it's exactly the same. That's how you have to think about your business. It's not about that one thing you do that you're known for. It's about all of those pieces. And for most people, if they want to earn more money, it doesn't just mean charging a lot more for the one service. It means creating more services and having more opportunities to make money. And this is what's called diversifying your income. Now, why do you want to do this? I think as freelancers, I know when I was first starting out, you really do live paycheck to paycheck and it can be a bit of a struggle. A job comes in and then it could be weeks or even months in some instances before you get that next job. And it can be really frustrating, get you down, doesn't really make for a great lifestyle. So it's important to diversify your income. And one of the things that diversifying your income does is it sort of like stabilizes your income because now you're not reliant on that one type of client. You might have different clients at different times of the year. For some people, a lot of their work is seasonal. So maybe diversifying your income in that case means finding work that you can do in other seasons. Some people, they have to go out a lot, like photographers, videographers. We have to go out a lot and shoot. And that's time consuming, taxing. So we look for work that we can also do in the studio. So we can make money at home or, during lockdown when we couldn't shoot, we still had some income coming in. So that was really critical. If we didn't have those other income sources, we'd be really screwed, honestly. Then you also are able to turn up and turn down different income streams. So let's say that one thing starts kind of slowing down, all of a sudden your income's not just disappearing. You can sort of lean into some of those other income streams and build them up, maybe spend more time promoting them and build them up to replace that other one. We're seeing this with Apple right now as their hardware sales stagnate. They've pivoted to services so that they can make up more of that income and they're not so dependent on those iPhone sales. Then the next thing is that it allows you to create more value for your clients. And if you are providing more value for your clients, what that's going to mean is that that client will go to you for more work. And if they go to you for more work, that means you get paid more and you have the opportunity to make more money. So all of these things, stabilizing your income, kind of like riding out market shifts, creating more value for your clients, giving yourself more freedom. Really, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, being free to do the kind of work you want to do and not being kind of stuck and painted into a corner. So it's really, really important to diversify your income. And I'm sure if you take a look at the creators you really love, even on YouTube here, they make money from a lot of different ways. They get AdSense, they have brand deals, they maybe sell you presets or something like that, sell you ebooks, guides, do a course. That's diversifying your income. So that's great, but how does this actually work for freelancers? Well, I thought the interesting thing for us to do might be to go through all the different ways that Worker Bee makes money. So I've got a list right here. So if I'm looking at the side, don't hold it against me. But when we first started out, at least when I first started out and Becca as well, we purely did photography. We went to school for photography. We only made money from photography. And more specifically, I only did editorial photography starting out, and Becca did wedding photography. So that was like our only thing, the main way we made money. But as our business grew, we sort of strategically started taking on different types of work in order to diversify our income and make our lives a little bit easier, make financial planning more consistent. And here's the breakdown essentially of all the services we do and sort of how they got built up. We're going to run through these pretty quick. But if you have any questions about any of these, please drop a comment down below and I'll jump in there and answer them for you. So again, we started with photography, and I'll use myself as an example. I was doing a lot of editorial photography when I first started out. I was just shooting sports, sort of like minor league type sport things, let's call it. I don't know what league. I'm not that into sports. But I was doing that kind of work. And as I grew, I started doing editorial work, shooting for magazines. From there, I started shooting more portraits. I also interned at an architectural photography studio. So I picked that service up and I started doing more architectural photography. Then we started with more portraits and more editorial work. That kind of bled into lifestyle work, and social media became more of a thing. So we started doing social media photography. With that came food, travel, a lot of events, headshots, brand photo shoots. And all of a sudden, our client base grew a lot more diverse. We weren't just working with one type of company. We were working with independent people, just consumers were hiring us to capture portraits for them for their LinkedIn and whatnot, things like that. Then smaller companies started hiring us to do brand shoots. Bigger brands started hiring us to do events and commercial and advertising work, large scale product photography work. Now, throughout that whole process, I started getting into shooting video because of a side project I was in, and we were kind of making video content. I personally watch a lot of video content online throughout my entire life, so I naturally gravitated towards wanting to make more of that type of content. So we started doing video content, and after a while, we started getting requests to do video work. This meant at first kind of doing little talks, maybe some corporate videos. We started shooting more events. Then we started doing more social media videos, product videos, advertising. Now we do larger commercial shoots as well. So now we were doing photography and videography and combining those together. Now, one of the things that as I started doing more video work, I really took the time to learn editing myself. You'll realize some people, they do all the shooting, but they outsource all the editing. And if you ever look at a video quote, and editing is actually a really large part of that budget. So I made sure to learn how to edit video myself. And after a while, other photographers who were moving into video but didn't know how to edit started coming to me to edit their videos. So with that, I started getting a lot of work that I never really had to ask for, but it just sort of started coming in. And it's great because I don't have to leave the office. I can justify buying more powerful computers, which benefits my own work. But then also I started forming deeper relationships with all these other creators and basically helping them run their service. And if you can help other people make money, that is the best way to make money, because they will just come to you because to them it's not a cost, it's a way of making money themselves. So you become an integral part of their business and they come to rely on you, and that way you can just get recurring work again and again. Moving on from videography, we do a bunch of other things that are kind of like related that help us generate money. So like I mentioned, some of these are doing video editing for creatives, but we also create a lot of our own content. And with that, we learn to do a lot of graphic design. We're not creating branding or logos for people, but different things like creating brochures, creating little mocks for pitches and decks. People started asking us who were working with us already, like, hey, can you put this together for me? You seem pretty savvy. I like the stuff you do online. So we started doing more design work, and it's actually, I do quite a bit of design work. It's not like the biggest part of our income for sure, but is a pretty consistent part of our income. With that design work, I had to make websites for projects I was working on for our own business, and the platform we use is Squarespace. And people started coming and asking, well, can you create a website for us? So now I actually have several clients that I manage their websites essentially on Squarespace. And, it might seem to you, if you're an expert at using it, that, like Squarespace or MailChimp or Any of these other services are actually like really simple to use, but for a busy person, it's very time consuming and they don't necessarily have the need or desire to learn how to do it themselves. They rather just pay someone else to do it. So that's also a great type of work because you manage that on an ongoing basis, and every once in a while they email you and say, hey, we need these and these updates, and you bill a few hours of work. From there, we started also doing Kickstarter consulting. So a couple of the people I worked with that were, I was managing their website. They were doing a Kickstarter for a certain project and wanted us to help them edit the video. And with that, they needed just some basic guidelines for how to run a Kickstarter campaign. This is something I happen to be interested in and read a lot about. So for those people, I created a little deck and guide and sort of customized a strategy for how to leverage their audience to have successful Kickstarter campaigns. And within that integrated were all of our services like video editing and design and Squarespace website management. It literally used the whole package. So we went from billing a client for one project, and one type of service, to now offering a whole suite of services that they need and that are complementary to each other. And then finally, design, extending into that, we started doing pitch decks. I'm pretty savvy with marketing, so people started coming to me to help them build pitch decks for projects. So we've done that kind of design work as well. And this process sort of never ends. It's not like we do everything all the time, but I'm always thinking about other ways that we can develop new income streams. And some of the things we're working on literally right now as we speak is doing virtual reality. As the pandemic hit, I got an Oculus Quest, and it's something I've been thinking about for a while, but it really made me realize wow, virtual reality and virtual meetings and virtual tours were gonna become a lot more of a thing. So it was time for us to get into that work and offer that to our clients because, if someone needs interior photography or videos, they probably also need virtual reality. They just don't know it yet. So we're starting to offer that, and we've actually done a couple jobs now with that work, and it's great. I love it. It's very interesting for me to play with that technology and kind of expand our services. The other thing we started doing during the pandemic is stock video. This is definitely something that takes a little longer to develop, but we've built a little library and we're slowly growing it, and we've started actually getting stock sales. Now, stock sales are kind of one of the best types of income, and that's passive income. Once you've built out your product, you don't have to do anything. Just once in a while, I get an email that a clip was sold, and we just get money deposited to our account. Literally that simple. It's great. So one other thing that I'll mention is it doesn't have to be directly related to what you do. A lot of our stuff is modeling, video, photography, design, but I got really into kind of physical manufacturing and specifically laser cutting. And I actually created signage for a client we were doing some photo work with. She was saying how she needed to create a signage, and she was looking for a laser cutter. And I was like, hey, I can actually do that for you. If you're open to it, I don't have a portfolio, but if it works out terrible, you don't have to pay me or anything. It worked out great. And that's sort of something we haven't really pursued publicly a lot, but now we have that skill that we can kind of lean into when we need to. So those are the things that we do at Worker Bee. And it all started with just one type of photography and really grew from there. And that's really what has contributed to the growth in our business. It's allowed us to get an office space, get a new computer, get new gear, invest in our team that helps us create more stuff now. And it's been really rewarding. And also for me personally, it's a lot more fun doing a variety of work than just doing the same thing day in, day out. For some people, that's great, but it is a little bit risky because now your business is entirely dependent on that. So those are our income streams, and there's a lot in there. So you might be wondering, I'm not a photographer necessarily, but how can I find new income streams around my business? So there's a few steps that I kind of use and I'm always aware of to generate ideas for making money and building new income streams. So the first one is follow your interest and curiosity. I didn't just pick something up and was oh, I'm going to be doing ceramics and we're going to make money off of that. I love beautiful ceramics, but it's not something I have any experience with, and it's not something that I'm eager to do all day. But something like virtual reality, I want to have a cool virtual reality headset to play video games. I'm just being honest. So in order to do that, these things are expensive and it's just cool to be involved in the technology. So virtual reality was like an obvious thing to start doing, and that really grew from my interests. Similar with laser cutting, that's something I've been wanting to get into for a long time. I joined a makerspace, took a laser cutting course, did a few projects on my own, and was like, hey, this would be a great business. Like, let me let people know about it, and maybe I can start doing that. The next thing is to think about what are the related services that your clients need. What I mean by this is how I mentioned with the Kickstarter thing. So, someone approaches us for videography for a project. Well, what are they doing with that video? They're probably uploading it to a website. They're probably putting out to social media. That means they need social media services. They need a web design and management services. They need content strategy. All of these services are related. And why this is great is that if you can sell this to a client of yours, it makes it very easy for them to bring you on to do other types of work for them. Because part of kind of helping a client is saving them time. And if they don't have to work with like a bunch of different vendors to get their final product, it makes it a lot easier for them to communicate with one person. They know you, they trust you, they like the relationship, which is very important in freelancing. Just how well you get along as friends in a sense. And they're more likely to hire you for those services. It's easy to kind of tack it on, let them know about it. They already have a need for it. You don't have to do all that work of developing a new client, finding leads, negotiating with them endlessly. You could just let them know, hey, I do this. If you need it, let me know. And eventually they probably will if you really think about kind of like the services around the service that you offer. Maybe you're a graphic designer and you can offer them website development and management services without really adding a lot of work on your end. Or maybe you can do a little package of like social content that would help them kind of spread the work that you do for them. There's really kind of like in every industry, just think about the things that your client will need to do both before and after they use your service. And in there's going to be a lot of opportunities for additional income streams. Next, think about what equipment you have. When we started doing videography, part of that was because the photo cameras we were using, it was the 5D Mark III at the time, had great video features that we weren't utilizing. So we already had the gear, and yeah, eventually you might have to buy some extra things, but that kind of like eliminates a huge amount of investment that other people would have to make in order to get into that business. So if you have a powerful computer, there's things that enables you to do. If you have a camera, if you have a 360 camera, if you have a Wacom tablet, all of these things, just think about the tools you use and what other types of income people make using those tools. Even having audio equipment from videography, that enables us to potentially down the line start doing podcasts. So you got to learn to think in this way. And after a while, it sort of becomes second nature. And as you look around at the options around you in your community, what you have access to, who you have access to, the tools you have, there's also a lot of opportunities there for additional income streams. The next thing is consider working in different industries. And the reason this is a good one is because industries tend to fluctuate together. So as the economy is doing well, a certain industry might be doing really well, but something that happens in that industry might disrupt it across the whole industry. And if you're solely rely on that one industry for your income, you're in a dangerous spot because like all of a sudden all your work can drop off instantly. However, if you work with a few different industries, then one industry might do poorly and another might do well. Similarly, different seasonal trends. Certain industries might sell a lot during the holidays, while others might need a lot of work during the summer. And this is how you can like stabilize your income across the entire year, so you're not so seasonal and it doesn't fluctuate as much, which, trust me, is really important and just like really good for your own mental health. The final thing I would say in terms of how to pick new income streams is consider working in a different environment. And what I mean is, as photographers, for example, a lot of our work is about going out and shooting. So what happens when you can't go out? A good example is Becca shot a lot of events and now there is literally no events. So that's like a huge part of our income that's disappeared. So instead, at the start of the pandemic, she made a goal to learn video editing. And now we're starting to work that into our work, and she's actually starting to edit some of our client videos as well. So, take a look at the environment you work in. If you're traveling a lot, try to find things that you can do from home or just from a laptop, just to give you a little bit of variety and give you options in case things go south. So that's how I would go about picking new income streams. But once you pick a stream and have some ideas, how do you actually develop that into a reasonable income? There's a couple specific steps that are important to doing this, and it doesn't have to be super complicated, but I do recommend kind of doing them in this process. So the first thing is develop your skills. Like I mentioned with Becca and video editing, check out her video about her learning to edit video and the process she went through to do that. Because when you're learning a new skill, some people pick it up piecemeal, but I would really recommend doing some sort of basic course and then doing more courses, tutorials on it, because that'll just kind of push through all that early trouble that otherwise might take you years to learn, but just learn from someone else's experience, do a course, get familiar with the new software. That's probably the easiest way to really get started. And as you do that, I think you'll find it'll also start to click in your mind ways you can make money using this skill, whether it's learning InDesign for the first time, learning video editing, or learning a new tool like camera or audio, or even a skill like illustration. You might not consider yourself an illustrator, but if you put in the practice, you can definitely develop skills enough to make money off of that. Then once you've developed your skill and you have a small baseline of skill, in terms of you can get to a final product that you would be happy sharing, it's important to build your portfolio. So there's two ways of doing this. The first is do a personal project. Now, I'm a huge fan of this, and a lot of the skills I've developed from photography to videography have all been through personal projects. And essentially design a project around something you're interested in that would get you the skills and get you working a lot in that. So, for Becca, it's making a bunch of YouTube videos, and she's learned to use the camera, learning to edit, learning all the supplementary skills around, choosing music, timing, working with audio. Doing a personal project is kind of like becoming your own client and allows you to really design personal projects to do the exact kind of work that you want and create those really nice portfolio pieces of exactly the type of work you want to get from other clients. Then the other way of doing it is working for free. Now, often people freak out. They're like, what do you mean working for free? I thought you should never work for free. And sure, you should never work for free when someone approaches you and is like, hey, do you want to do this really complicated thing for free for me? It'll give you a lot of exposure, because that's just bullshit. That doesn't happen. Exposure does not pay the bills. But if you're the one initiating these free projects, working with businesses is actually a really good idea. So as we're starting to develop VR, one of the things we did is we rented a VR camera and we hit up a bunch of different types of businesses and asked them hey, we're doing the service, we're just starting out, and we're wondering if we can come into your space and create a VR map of the space. For you, there would be no cost. We would use it in our portfolio and you can use it for whatever you want. We are doing the free work on our terms, and we're being really picky with the type of places we do, so that as we build a portfolio, we have commercial examples. It's important to show potential clients that you've worked with real businesses, and creating free work on your own and approaching businesses for it directly rather than the other way around is the way to show clients that, hey, I work with brands. Because when you put that project in the portfolio, nobody knows that you did that project for free. And frankly, it doesn't matter, because the project was done, you delivered the final files, and it looks great. And those people can vouch for you. You can get testimonials from them. There's really a lot of benefits like that. And also, they will become sort of word of mouth for you, because people, as they start to use these assets or whatever that you may create for them, other people that they work with will be like, hey, I want that. Who did that for you? And they will refer you to them. So you can really start that referral engine and that word of mouth about a thing that you've never done before, potentially. So let's say you've developed your skills, you have a small portfolio starting to go, what do you do next? The most important thing is to tell everyone, literally everyone tell them about this new thing that you're doing. So I've just continually been telling people about VR, like, hey, we're getting into VR, we're doing VR. If you need VR, let us know. These are what we're doing. Hey, we did a bunch of examples, check them out. And you just start talking about it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your clients, although definitely tell your existing clients, but tell your friends, tell your family, tell people, like businesses in your neighborhood. Just tell as many people as possible about your new service and what you do. The more people that know about it, the more opportunities are for them to sort of like mention it to other people, and you get word of mouth. It's all about word of mouth and kind of putting it out into the world and creating as many opportunities for people to recommend you as possible. And finally, like I mentioned earlier, tell your clients. Make sure you tell your clients. But with your clients, I would make sure you have like a nice portfolio first that you can kind of show them, especially if they're bigger brands. Maybe do a few of those free projects, do some personal projects, tell people in your immediate circle. And when you're ready, you can create an offering page on your website with that portfolio and send it over to your clients. And likely, they might not hire you for it right away, but those clients will often become the first people to hire you for your additional services. Just like with Apple, your first purchase is not an Apple TV subscription. It's probably an iPhone or something. And then eventually you'll get that Apple TV subscription. Maybe not Apple TV, it's a little lame, but you get the point. So I think using this method, you can really start to develop additional income streams and really integrate this into your business as an ongoing thing that you try new skills, learn them, develop them into potential income streams, and then you always have that option to fall back on. And remember, you don't have to do it. You can always decide after you're doing it for a bit, like, oh, I'm actually not as interested in this. This is something that happened to us with like Squarespace, website design. We do this with only select clients because we found, to do it with new clients, it really wasn't worth the amount of time we put into it a lot. But to do it with clients that you have a relationship with and you kind of know how they are, it's been very beneficial. So we've sort of like stopped marketing it, but we still get that work and we still get income from those types of jobs. So this video is a bit longer than I hoped it would be, but I really wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything and really give you an insider look at how we run our company day to day and how we develop new income streams. This has been critical for our business and has really unlocked tremendous growth in our revenue. So I would highly recommend you sit down, make a list of possible ways that you can make additional income and just start, chipping away at them. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help you. Drop a comment down below so I can answer it there and all of us can benefit. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. It's really helpful for us, and make sure you hit subscribe. We release weekly videos that help you with creativity and freelancing and get you inspired to go out there and take control of your own creative journey. So with that said, we're here every week. I'd love to have you on board. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.